on behalf of
that right there belongs to Kim, and that one right there, the other one belongs to the Gantz family.
Yeah, she said now as far as the this is Walker, but she said now as far as private property owners, she said I can't speak on their behalf. All I can tell you is the TVA land can't.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
There's a board of director at TVA's that we got contact with.
It'd be good to see who they spoke to.
Well, the guy from the TVA board of directors, who's the one that put us in touch with that to start with, seems to think we can use it.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I don't know. We'll find out.
She didn't even know nothing about she'd never even heard of a Rivertown project. She just said, "Well, this is my region, and I don't really understand how someone else." And she didn't even know nothing about a Rivertown project.
We call Toby and Walker. I'll call Walker and tell him. Because I think
is that Heather Matt?
Yeah, her name is Heather Hamilton.
The gentleman that I talked with about 3 years ago, I can't remember his name. He said that property down along the river was available too. He even came down and looked at it. And so is she saying it's not available, or?
This, can you see, or can you turn it on? The tract of land that is alongside the river, that's 64 acres of TVA.
Yeah.
That is the one that she told me. She looked at it and did some information, and she said that it could not be used.
Yeah, it's available because he did the same. I know what she probably said, but the gentleman I talked with about 3 years ago, what it is it's something about endangered species or marshland or whatever. Yeah. However, he did a lot of research on it, and he said it could be used for hiking trails or whatever. I'm just sharing what and he did a lot of work on it. So now I think she took his place, so she might not be totally up to speed on it. Yeah. But I'm just sharing what I know about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can.
I mean, it'd be good if somebody that's been involved with it would reach out to her and share with her basically what we've already been told and what's already been researched. Because
now what he did say is that we couldn't do ball fields or any things like that, but we could use it for hiking. So
yeah, I said something about just a river walk, and she said she shut it down and said, no, you cannot even put a sidewalk in for a river walk. And I said, well, and I said something about Bridgeport, and she said, well, yeah, Bridgeport's is okay for recreational use, but yours is not, because and it was like some endangered aquatic species or something.
Yeah,
like that.
That's exactly. But now that is correct. He did say that we couldn't put in sidewalks and so forth, but we could put in gravel and light use for hiking. I'm just sharing what I know about it.
Yeah.
And what he shared, and it was to the point where they were fixing to actually do an easement on it or whatever. But anyway, that's back when I was running for mayor, and I just when Virgil won, I just shared that with him or someone else, and I don't think anything was done further on it. But
something else that we might want to look into that might help is if we was to call TDEC and ask them, because we should be able to apply for a SWIP permit.
Yeah.
Because you can do mitigation, you can do stuff within some of those areas, but everything has to be permitted and engineered and done the right way. So we might reach out to somebody with TDEC to see, what their thoughts are. That way we can follow up with TVA and say, because TVA ultimately, they don't police the aquatic stuff. That's TDEC.
Right. That's right.
We could get TDEC to, say, well, yes, there is a way, and if y'all did it this way, then we could maybe come back to TVA and say, well, TDEC's saying if we could do this, then maybe that's something to think about.
You want me to call Heather and share with her what I know about it, and and see if I can kind of get her to do some more research on that, or
Yeah,
you,
see what she says, because and then I would ask her and say, well, what if we was to have TDEC sign off and we was to get a SWIP permit, and you should, again, for light use, it shouldn't be a problem.
right? And that's what he was saying. We just couldn't do anything other than like gravel or whatever, and cut out of trails and so forth. But we could do that. But anyway, that's from here. That was a few years ago. But anyway, it shouldn't have changed.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Are you there, Ashley?
Yeah, so Commissioner
Have we got enough members?
Hampton just joined us, so we have a quorum now.
Okay. Hey, Ashley?
Yeah.
Well, is Ken on?
Ken is on. Commissioner Jordan, can you hear me? We can't hear him.
You may need to dial in on the telephone number.
Yeah, it's saying he has a microphone that's working, but and it's not muted, but
She's at it.
I'll send him the phone number to call.
She's already got it on to them to approve, so we can send it to the board. See, this guy's already built on.
Yeah, no.
Hey, that when we hauled that stuff off, we left some wire and stuff up there. And when I went up there the other day, it was still there. Did you want us to get rid of that?
If it's still there, but another day, I didn't see it.
Okay.
We had some people that was cutting some trees in it,
Well,
and I thought,
whoever got it,
they got it,
or they may have. No, I sent it to the other day, and I thought, well, I meant for those guys to get that. And I don't know why they didn't.
I don't want to say something, see if they hear.
Hello, everybody. It's George. I'm sorry I got here late, but if you can hear me, let me know.
I usually get up a little bit of money, and that's what I buy the lunches with when we do lunch.
Find out what do you pay for that corner lot.
With the house and everything, we paid $19,000. We bought the house and everything up there. Yeah, we look, I think 4 or 5 that. Be lucky, get 3 or 4,000 of it.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it. So
I was just, it was such a, I probably could have waited and got it with the tax sale. Yes, I just wanted to get rid of them so dang bad.
Can everyone hear me?
I got another one. I'm gonna go after on tax sale.
I've just spoken to Ken Jordan. He's going to dial in just a moment.
Okay, great.
That house.
Up here. Is he going to remodel it or get it? He's already got it.
They did all that. Some Spanish came in, they did that like a day.
Yeah, I noticed it. I went by there one day and I noticed in the windows, curtains are gone. Then you see it, you go there and then it studs.
You gotta go all out and do it right, or just have already bulldozer.
The other one we're trying to work on is I'm trying to get the drums to cut it enough that we can sell them a lot. He wanted it too, didn't he?
I think Eddie, I know Eddie talked to me about maybe trying to do like a bed and breakfast or something. What's the history of it?
So if y'all can admit me to the meeting. I can hear you all. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
For some reason, I keep getting a situation where it says your browser is preventing access to your microphone. Learn how to allow access to your microphone. Tried everything, it didn't work. So I'm going to just follow by phone, and I do have the stuff on the screen.
Okay, great.
So why don't we actually, just for the sake of moving things, expediting them, why don't you just take us through the agenda, and then we'll respond as necessary.
Okay, sure. So I can assume we're officially called to order now. Is that correct?
We are.
All right. So we have the minutes from the last meeting to look at if anyone has anything they want to change on that. It was
I read through those. I don't have any suggestions or changes.
okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
And I'll second that.
I've been moved second, so all in favor, let it know, saying aye.
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 Minutes adopted. Ashley, back to you.
All right.
Hang on just a minute, Ashley, hang on. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Because this is a Zoom meeting and it's not in person, we have to let everybody know that this is in accordance with one of the executive orders by the governor that we're allowed to have Zoom meeting and not in person.
Yeah, and let me just share with you all, I spent 4.5 hours last night on the training and that very subject matter of executive orders. And in fact, I think the most recent one is going to be expiring December 27th or 28th. And they'll probably put out a new one. But I just want to simply say I'm aware of what you're saying, and I appreciate you bringing it to our attention.
Yeah, we just make sure it's in our minutes.
And
yes,
it's
understand.
being recorded. Next item is building inspector report. Chief Jordan is not available this evening, so.
Let me ask you a question, City Administrator. Is there anything that needs to be brought to our attention that you're aware of regarding building inspectors, or otherwise we'll just look forward to that in January?
No, sir. We kind of put everything on hold because of the fact that he has been sick. So there are a few applications here that will need to be approved and signed off and looked at by him. But everybody understands that he's sick, and we'll get him when he gets back next week. So we'll have everything ready for the January meeting.
Sounds good to me. Back to you, Ashley.
Staff activity report is next, and that would be me. And this month I've helped with the Spark application. I've talked to Walker a few times about that, and just that's a later agenda item, so I won't get into that. But you know, I'm prepared for this meeting, and that's about it. We don't really have a whole lot going on. The grants for this year are mostly winding down, and we will pick back up next year with more applications. So the next item on the agenda is any other city news, which would be anything that Jean has to report.
Same thing. We're kind of moving along. We do have some, the big three things that we're working on right now within the city, of course, is the Thrive, which is a grant that we'll be getting in a few days for doing some art exhibitions in the alley behind the Princess Theater, which is getting ready to come before the board, mayor and commissioners, I think at next meeting. We just had a short discussion, Mr. Chairman, with Bill, and he's going to check in some things with us for our Rivertown project to make sure that we're all still singing off the same song sheet there as far as using some property of TVA down on the lower end. But Bill's going to check into that, make sure we got the right information. And did get a notice today that the Tennessee Downtown, they're ready to proceed with giving us the money so that we can get set up with that project, Ashley. So we'll be working on it as to who we want to approach, how we want to approach, and things like that as far as the facades and things like that, which you guys will have to be involved in that too, I would imagine. But other than that, that's all we have right now.
Okay.
All right, next item is any properly presented old business that you'd like to address? Which I don't have anything, but if anybody else has anything they would like to bring up.
Let me just ask a quick question. I don't want to start a whole discussion about it, but where do we stand on the accessory dwelling ordinance or authority?
That passed the city commission, and they have the city staff has the application available should anybody wish to apply. We haven't had any inquiries as far as I know. My phone number is on the application, so if anybody were to pick it up, I would think they would get in touch with me as to what they need to do. So I haven't had any inquiries, but it is there for anybody who's interested.
That answers my question. Thank you.
Okay. New business. The first item is a request to close the alleyway between Hamilton Avenue and Laurel Avenue, the section that's between 12th and 13th Street, which I will show you that map here. So I'll need to get a little input from Jean. I looked into this and looked at the old plats and records, and I did discover that there's actually a water line that goes part way up this alley, and I can show you. And so I have asked, I've had Marion County Water and Gas confirm that it is there, and I haven't gotten any. There is the option to close the alleyway with the water line still there and have a permanent easement instead of that, but I haven't gotten an answer from Marion County and South Pittsburg Water as to whether they would be open to that. It would have to be an agreement between all the property owners and the water company. So it'd be kind of, it's not complicated agreement. It's just complicated in the sense that several people have to sign off on it. So that's where that stands. There's no other reason to keep that alleyway open, but I recommend, at this point, I think I recommend tabling it. I did put in there, I recommend approval pending the water company's review, but they have since gotten back to me and showed me that there was a water line there. So right now I recommend tabling it until we get.
Tell me quickly who it is that's requesting that the alley be closed.
Jean can give some information on that.
Those apartments at the top of the hill have been sold, where the one that's off of 12th Street. Those have been sold, and that property owner is the one that's requested. There is another property owner at the top of the hill. I think it's on that plat you're looking at. It's 19.
Okay.
She's the one that's actually been taking care of the lot. She mows it and everything else. Then right there at the end of lot 19, that thing falls off the hill. It's just a big old steep bank. It goes straight down the hill. But as you can see on the thing here, it's still an alleyway. So we got in touch with the property owners for the ones that's buying the apartments up there. And with, I think her name is Miss Muir, and they've agreed that they would split that part up there at the top. We have not gotten with anybody down on the lower end, but as you can already see, one of those houses is already encroached over into the alley.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, Ashley, do you know if the water line's off of 13th Street? I don't think it's off of 12th Street.
No, it's off of 13th. I'll show you. if I can. Share this photo. This is the map that the water company sent me, and if you can look, I hope you can see my mouse moving over this. This is where it ends.
Yeah.
So this is 13th, this is 12th, just oriented differently from what the other map is. And so this is Laurel up here, and so this is the alley right here that we're looking at. So it could conceivably close this section between the end here and 12th Street, and you wouldn't have any issues with the water company. So that would be an option if you wanted to look at that, since these are the folks that are interested in closing it. And there doesn't seem to be any reason to keep that open. It's never been paved or utilized as far as I know. So
And actually, this is my going on. Is there a recorded permanent utility easement that's recorded at the courthouse for this tract of land?
I haven't done like a full title search or anything. As far as I could tell, there's no easements recorded. It's just recorded as an alleyway. I found it, the earliest it was recorded that I found was 1951. It wasn't on the original plat for this area. So it was, and I don't see any utility easements other than, it's just an alleyway, a public alleyway. And so there's no recorded easement. It would have, the way closing an alley works, or closing a portion of an alley works, is you would, the planning commission would recommend closing it. The city commission then has to have it's an ordinance, so they have to have 2 hearings. And once they pass it, it is up to the property owners to hire a surveyor and have it platted with all easements drawn on it at that point, in order to claim that as their property. So there is additional steps after the city decides to close it for them to make sure all the utility easements are properly recorded, and that those plats require a signature from all the utility companies.
I've got a suggestion, and that is for discussion. In as much as it has to go before the city commission and it requires an ordinance, we can table it and delay it, or I would suggest we go ahead and make a recommendation from someone to approve it and let it be flushed out when it gets to the city commission. Gene, do you have any issues with that?
No, I think that I wasn't aware that number one, there's a water line, but I do not think that that'll be a problem. And I'll tell you why, Mr. Chairman, is the only way that you can get the owners that's wanting that property up on top of the hill, it looks like a little bit. I'm not even sure that you could go up that alley and get to that water line. You'd have to go up Laurel Avenue by Miss Muir's house and cross over her yard to get to that water line. So I don't think there'll be a problem. But then on the other side of the street, on the Hampton Street side, the only one that's really involved is this group of investors that's buying that apartment complex, because there's 2 housing authority units there and a church and a vacant lot. That where she's pointing at there's a church, and then there's the housing authority has 2 units there. Now there is a house, like I say, that now over on the Laurel side, if you go up Laurel, there's 2 or 3 houses there on that side, closer down to 13th Street. There's nothing up at the top of the hill by 12th Street.
Right over here.
So my recommendation, if I could throw in one, would say go ahead and do like you're saying, Mr. Chairman, and then I'll get with the water company and get everything signed off on and make it an easement if needed. Because I wasn't aware there was a water line in there, but it makes sense because all the water lines are in the alleys.
Further discussion? If not, could I get a motion?
I'll make the motion that we move to close the alley between Laurel and Hamilton.
And I'll second that.
Been moved and properly second. Further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it know. I'm saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion passes. Next item.
My agenda here. Oh, wrong agenda.
What happened there, Ashley? City of Red Bank.
I'm sorry. I was working on their agenda too, and I shared the wrong thing.
Okay.
Well, the next thing on the agenda, I actually will stop sharing because is cold storage, or not cold storage, climate controlled storage that is proposed at 212 First Street, which their engineer is on here with us, and he can share his screen. It is an existing building that burned recently and it was damaged in a fire, and they're wanting to replace it with a metal building that would serve as a climate controlled storage. It is an industrially zoned property. They have submitted a site plan that shows it meeting all the setback requirements and of the industrial zone, and it is a use that's permitted industrial zone. So I think we can move forward with approval. It's not in flood zone or anything. There is a few pieces of information that I will probably need to get, like a signature from the applicant and everything to have on file, but I think we can. My recommendation is to approve it on some additional information as required by the zoning ordinance to be filed with our building inspector.
Further discussion?
Is that the site where the old knitting mill used to be?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I guess just a personal comment from me, Ken Jordan, is that anything that is properly presented that would end up with a renovation and enhancement of an otherwise burned structure, to me, I see as a positive start. So I start out with a sense of saying I'm in favor.
I move that we approve it.
Here, second.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed likewise. Well, we'll get that started. The person who's on there who was on the line, is there any comments or anything you'd like to share or bring to the attention of the commission?
No, my name is Robert Roberts. I'm the general contractor for the project. The only thing I would say, of course, we're removing the damaged structure and adding a new structure for interior storage, like Ashley had said. One of the things we are going to address, though, is the fact that they've had flooding in this area. The water backs up and overflows, and so we are going to raise this portion here. We're gonna raise the site here some and improve this berm to get some proper drainage back so it quits flowing back into here. So the elevation at this area is going to be more on level with what's existing over here, and hopefully we'll be able to solve this flooding issue.
Let me ask a question. This is Ken Jordan. Briefly, I certainly understand why you would take those steps to deal with the flooding. The quick question I have, though, is the action you're taking, will it present a problem for anyone else though?
No, sir, it shouldn't. What seems to be happening is the road is higher than what the and the bank here is too low. It's just eroded, and really what it needs to be is just repaired so it properly drains. What's happening is it's filling up, and this culvert here, and this they're very, very large culverts. This is a large culvert that goes on here and carries a lot of volume of water. And I think the bank has just eroded some, and some of the water, when it runs in, it's not draining properly now. And so what we're going to do is address it so it does drain properly. But no, sir, it should not affect anyone else. The water now hits this large culvert, goes on out towards I don't know the name of that road there.
Mr. Chairman.
This is the culvert.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment here, please?
Sure.
I would ask that the engineer here take a look at that Ash Avenue from First Street down to where he's talking about. The city, at the request of Mr. Reese Thomas several months ago, made an investment and put some tile in down through there to help with that drainage.
Yes.
That's no longer an open ditch right in there. That's a closed ditch with a pretty good sized tile that we put in to also join in with some downspouts that he had coming off the roof to eliminate some of that water. So I would just ask if it's okay, is if you would get with us before we do some work in there to see how it's going to affect and what it's going to do to that tile. Now, as far as the building, what you're wanting to do, I'm 100% for it and would recommend it, but I am a little bit concerned about the tile that we have put in there to help with that drainage problem.
Yes, sir. And we have no intention of interrupting the tile or the drainage structures out here. Our goal is to make the new building a little bit higher, maybe about 18 inches or so higher, so that, because he said the water gets into that building, that one side over there, a couple times a year, and I think the tiles did help quite a bit, tremendously. But he still gets some. So all we're doing is basically just raising the building up and putting in a little dirt here. But everything we're doing is on the property. It's not in the right of way or outside of his property lines.
And this is Mike Garland. I'm all for renovating that property as well. I will say, because I worked that fire, there was tremendous heat and flames. Are you an engineer, sir? And I'm assuming that you all will plan to replace some of those steel beams in that structure. Is that true?
Yeah. Well, I'm the general contractor, and we have already had a structural engineer on site who has dictated to us what we can and cannot save. So they've already told us what mitigation we need to do, what improvements we need to do. Basically, and I may have to switch my. And I don't know how to stop. Oh, that's how I stop sharing. What they determined was that this warehouse number 2 was able to be salvaged. Center warehouse, storage area, and storage area number 2 had to be completely removed. The beam line along warehouse number 2 will have to be improved. And it's base structural engineering that's given us a full report on it. So that's where you'll see that whole area here gone. West End built what they're calling West End Building B, East End Building B, and that center part, all that's going away. And then we are beefing up this beam line here, and all the other steel in here was fine.
Further discussion?
Structural engineering.
Yeah, I've got a question. You say you're going to be raising the elevation. Are you going to make sure that's going to be above the 100-year floodplain?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, Adam Driver for AD Engineering will be doing the civil plans. So there'll be a licensed structural engineer, licensed civil engineer on the project.
Okay. I just want to make sure, just in case.
Yes, sir.
So.
further discussion? If not, then we need a motion, or have we had it? I kind of lost track there for a second.
We've had the motion, and that's been approved.
That's right. Okay. So, and I was asking him if there was anything he wanted to add to it. And if there are no further questions, then Ashley, let's move on to the next item.
Sure. The next item is a resolution, which, to give you a little background, very brief, the city applied for a Healthy Built Environment grant, and also the organization Spark South Pittsburg Area Revitalization Quest also applied for a Healthy Built Environment grant. Now their grant was selected and invited to do the full application. So they made it past the first round, whereas the city's grant was not. It's a very competitive grant. So in this, in support of their efforts, I wrote this resolution that I thought the Planning Commission could pass and sign, saying that they're in support of this process. That what their grant will do will pay for. It's probably going to be a landscape architecture and planning firm to come in and design and plan a riverfront park, and design the improvements for that area. And it is part of spearheaded by the River Towns group. So I know, and this will provide $50,000 to fund this plan. So it'll have to be a very public and open process. And at this point, it's just a plan, so it's not building anything, but having a plan like this will help fund the future improvements. And it's also very difficult to find grants that fund this kind of planning. So I thought it was a really good project and really good possible use of these funds. So, and the Department of Health apparently agrees, since they were one of 30 groups invited to do the full application out of almost 150 applications. So they have put together a very competitive project. So I felt it would be appropriate for you guys to pass this resolution in support of it.
Quick procedural question. When does it need to be signed and where?
We will get a signature. Well, we can get an electronic signature, or we can get a signature at the next meeting. But
so, in other words, there's not going to be a problem in the short term of the signature, because otherwise, I was thinking maybe if they wanted to leave the document somewhere where I could go to sign it. But in other words, let's just work on adopting it if we choose to, and then the mechanics of it we can get done, because I'm going to be in the area.
Okay, yeah, because you can go to City Hall and sign it. I'm not exactly sure when the deadline is for the full application, but I wanted to go ahead and get this together for you all, and then the City Commission can do something similar as well.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve this resolution.
Second.
All right, we've had a motion to approve resolution and a second. Further discussion?
I think we
Go
need
ahead.
to get this thing signed as soon as possible, just for the fact of, showing that we're really concerned about getting it done.
I concur completely. So, as I said a while ago, I'll be available whenever it's decided. So Ashley can let me know, and then we'll go forward. But I concur. All right. Other discussion. If not, we've had a motion and a second, and all in favor, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed likewise. The resolution is adopted. Next item.
Anything? There's nobody else who has something to bring up, then it's adjournment.
Well, let's back up. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. We skipped over
No,
C.
we missed something called proposed skateboard park.
Yeah,
Oh,
I want to,
I skipped over that. It was is Commissioner Stone still?
no, he had to leave.
Okay. So there is some citizens who have come to, I guess the mayor and the city commission, wanting to use a section of Lloyd Park as a skateboard park. Am I correct in saying that it would be a temporary use, Gene? Is that what
Well,
you want?
now that's my understanding. Of course, if I can just give a little background here, Mr. Chairman and Ashley.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not even really sure where this come from. There has been some discussion and some people have talked about the skateboard park, but we have not received anything officially saying this is where we want, how much it's going to cost, who's going to regulate it, or anything like that. The only discussion that Ashley and I had, along with Commissioner Stone, is bear in mind that where they are talking about putting the skateboard park is going to be a part of where the rec center would go if we ever got to that point. So the only thing that I have suggested to Commissioner Stone and having a conversation with the people that's talking about the park, that I don't want to use the word temporary, but it still would need to be temporary in the event that we were able to proceed and get the rec center, even though that might be 2 to 3 years. We wouldn't want to make it permanent because that's where part of the rec center is scheduled to be. Outside of that, nobody has said anything about money or anything. The other issue I would be concerned about is if this doesn't need to go to the rec center or the rec board first so that they can discuss, that's leased property, leased in the fact that we get it from the housing authority. I don't know how they would feel about having a piece of property like that with the liability. Because
my comment on that, if I may, is that I was about to interject and say this is something that I think before the planning commission would have an opinion about it or a perspective about it, is that I would ask that the Park and Recreations Board consider it as part of their plan and to make a recommendation as to whether or not they feel it fits in with an overall plan. And then with their recommendation one way or another, then I think it might be appropriate for us to take it under consideration. But my preliminary feeling about it now is that this needs to be part of the comprehensive planning of the Parks Board, and their input to me is necessary.
I agree 100%.
Anyone have a different thought or idea of how we should approach this?
I think you're right on line, Mr. Chairman. We need more information, plat maps, and so forth. So I think it needs to be tabled.
Yeah, I think the thought of doing things to improve or for recreation or for the kids, all of those, the notion and the thought and the idea is positive. The problem is things have to be coordinated so that the right and left hand kind of know what each one is doing. And I would not be opposed to a skateboard. I've seen them, and some of them, let me tell you, are phenomenal in terms of what the kids are able to do with them. The ones I've seen in parks, though, are concrete, and they go up and jump and do all kind of crazy stuff. But so the notion of it is something I would be comfortable with, but only in as much as it fits in with a larger plan that takes into consideration a variety of needs and interests. Further discussion? Well, then I will take it that what our recommendation is, Mike, as you suggested, is that our action is that we are suggesting that this be referred to the park board for feedback and input back to the planning commission when appropriate. Ashley, you have any other comments on it?
No, I think we will get that to the park board. So.
Okay, what's next?
That's all I have for us. We can adjourn, or unless anybody has any other business they'd like to present.
Yeah, let me ask one other question, and then I'm in favor of adjournment. But Gene, can you tell us what the implications are right now for the city as we are dealing with the COVID-19 thing? If there's any additional thoughts or actions that you see impacting the short term?
Well, the thing that's popped up in the last few weeks for us is, I don't mind sharing with y'all, is we had 5 police officers that tested positive. We've had one clerk here in the office that's tested positive. As you mentioned earlier there when we were talking about the format of putting this into a Zoom meeting, the feeling among everybody, as far as the people that I've talked to at TML and the City Managers Association, that we'll probably get an extension of the Zoom meetings from the governor, even though they're, and you said you were on a meeting last night. I don't know if you heard something or not, but it looks like the numbers for Tennessee are not real well. They're not doing real good. They're only going up. The biggest issue that I'm hearing from everybody is it doesn't seem like it is affecting us older folks, and I'll put myself in that category. It's the younger kids. We're seeing a big spike in high school and middle school and elementary school kids. And that's what everybody's kind of sitting on pins and needles for, is they don't know what's going on there. So I think that we probably will see back for a month or two. It's kind of scary, particularly when we're trying to plan for the Cornbread Festival here very shortly. But we have to be, we have to use some common sense too. So I think that we probably for the next couple of months will go back and have virtual meetings like this, Zoom meetings, until we figure out exactly what's going on. And maybe the vaccine will be out by then and we can start send this thing on a downside instead of upward mode. But right now, I can say that, for example, we're on Zoom tonight. The city commission meeting was canceled Tuesday night. Court is canceled for Monday night. And the city commission meeting for January right now is scheduled for a Zoom meeting unless something changes.
Well, the only comment I would add is that this is not a unique experience for us in our locale. It's occurring across the country. And so everybody is having to be, I don't know how to say it, more concerned about the possible implications for family and friends and relatives and government workers and everybody else. Someone else have a discussion point before we go?
I would just like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and I hope to see everyone again in January, either via Zoom or otherwise.
I appreciate that, and I'll let you buy me one at Steve Arena when I see you. Anybody else? If not, I'll share Mike's sentiments. Hope everybody stays safe and has a good Christmas. And with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I was just thought of something was put in my ear is this COVID stuff is it asymptomatic or what's the, what are we looking at there? Gene, do you know?
Oh, no, I don't know. The reports that I've got back is that they are all tested positive. The 3 that I've talked to today are still extremely sick.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can tell they got the symptoms. You can hear it. And I mean, I mean, they're just sick. I don't know
Yeah.
how else to describe it other than you can really hear it in their voice and everything that they're sick.
Gene, let me ask you, without getting into your personal business too much, given their current difficulties, did you experience a similar type of thing to that degree?
Yes, sir. I sure did.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
problem's not why you got it right now. The problem is getting over it after you're over it. It takes a long time. From the time that I got out of the hospital and tested negative or was negative, it took me about 5 to 6 weeks to fully recover. So these guys that's got it right now, I don't know if they're to the point that they need to be hospitalized, but what I hear out of them and, talking to them and whatnot, they got a pretty good case too. So it's going to take them a while just to get over it, to build their strength and stuff back up. So they could be, even after they say I'm symptom free, they may need some more time just to gain their strength back.
And in the meantime, is our police coverage being taken care of by the county, or
They're what? I'm sorry, Mike.
is our police coverage at this point being covered by the county, or how are they handling that?
We actually have 3 police officers left that's not sick, and the county, along with Kimball, and we have Jasper on backup. They're listening to calls if needed. But right now, it's a combination of the 3 that I have left and the county. Now, 2 nights this week, it was all county. It was just the county that was actually taking care of us here in the city. And Bo, I have to give Bo credit. He stepped up to the plate and done a great job. There was no questions or nothing. He just got people down here to take care of us.
Good.
Excellent. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, let it know by saying aye.
All
Aye.
Aye. Have a good night, folks.
Good night. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ashley.
You're welcome.